So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and I'm excited today to bring you the Galaxy S26 base model unboxing. Now, the other day we covered the Galaxy S26 Ultra, and we're still actively working on comparisons as well as the full review process of this phone. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and take a look at its little brother, the Galaxy S26. For those of you who don't want to get the larger option, want to save the most and still get a Samsung S26. So let's go ahead and peel this tab right there. And then we'll go ahead and peel this tab right there. We'll go ahead and pull this up, and you'll see I did go with the violet color, basically the marketing color you've been seeing majority of the time for this base model option. Now, I'm not sure which color I'm going to go with for the plus, but we're going to do the plus later. We usually start with the base and the ultra. So stay tuned if you're looking for plus content. I plan to bring that later. Now, if you look inside, you'll see this little tab in pretty much all Samsung boxes. And what they basically include here is just a cable, a SIM card tool, and some warranty information inside of there. Not much to speak of inside of these boxes anymore. So if you're looking for anything more than that, it's not going to be had. You have to buy that charger separately. A lot of times though, with the discounts at pre-order, you can sometimes get those free of charge. But you'll see right there, SIM card tool, because this phone does have a SIM card slot. So that's nice. You'll see here on the back of the phone, it looks essentially just like the Ultra right there with that camera island right there. Now you will find just that flash on the Ultra. You'll see a couple other sensors and camera right there. So definitely a little bit different, but not too much. So if you kind of like the Ultra's look, but you want a smaller option, this is going to be the option here. On the right side of this phone, you are going to see yourself the power button, the volume rocker, antenna line there. And up at the top, you'll see some microphone holes. You'll also see the antenna line right there. On the left side, you'll see an antenna line, but basically nothing on the left side there. So pretty clean edge on that side. At the bottom of this device, you're going to find yourself that USB-C microphone hole right there. We do have our speaker grill and a micro SD card slot. Let's go ahead and back it out a bit. Let me get this box out of the way really quickly here. And let's go ahead and peel that tab off. Let's see how it sounds for the first time. 3, 2, oh, that was pretty nice actually. So very nice. Now, immediately you're going to notice that this is more of a glossy display. Definitely a little bit different than the darker looking anti-reflective display on the S26 Ultra. So the display technology is a little bit different. Let's go ahead and boot this up and we'll see what we're working with here. So it just says Samsung Galaxy in a minute there. That first initial boot can take some time. So just give it a second. It's like cold in the box and all that stuff. But yeah, the display on the S26 Ultra has that privacy option, the privacy display. You're not going to get that on the base model. Do keep that in mind. So if you're looking for that feature that was marketed, that's for the S26 Ultra, not for this smaller edition. Some of the key specs that are going to really matter here for you are a 6.3 inch display. That's 1080p. We also do have 50 megapixel triple camera on the rear, 12 gigabytes of RAM on even the smaller edition with the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy, and a 4300 milliamp hour cell. So that's a pretty good size for this smaller option. I'm gonna go ahead and just bypass and get into this phone, and I'll be back in a second because there's not really much to talk about in the setup process. Okay guys, and we're now in the phone, and I can tell you right away, this phone's shape actually feels very similar to the Ultra. The Ultra and the base model kind of have that same shape now. Kind of the same corners are rounded. Pretty much overall, kind of like just a smaller version, even more so I think than last year. These feel a lot closer. So if you are into the S26 Ultra, but you want a smaller size, I feel like these feel just a bit closer than even S25 to S25 Ultra. So let's go ahead and take a look at the storage that is on board here within this device. So if we scroll down here, we'll go to device care. We'll click right here on storage, and you're going to go ahead and see that 32.6 gigs out of the box. Now I didn't sign in because I wanted to showcase to you guys in this unboxing how much space is being taken. So not a full 256 gigs, but quite a bit. So you still get about 220 or so. Let's go ahead and take a look at the wallpapers included, you're going to see the color wallpaper that's going to come default is usually going to match the color option you go with. That's the one they're going to preload it with. But you can easily change between them just by clicking here. Click variations at the bottom, and you'll see you'll probably get this wallpaper if you buy the blue option, and so on and so forth, depending on the option you do go with. But we'll stick with the violet because that's the kind of the color option we're here with. You can do the creative AI wallpapers, and then they're including those same colors like they had before. So just that one single specific S wallpaper right there, but other than that, not a big deal. So let's talk about some other things with this phone right here. So you are going to get that snappy One UI 8.5 feel on board. So that comes out of the box with Android 16. You also do get yourself the same chipset found in the S26 Ultra. So still going to be a very, very fast feeling device. No S Pen because this is a smaller phone, obviously. But this phone also feels slightly taller, and the punch hole actually looks a little bit bigger than the S25. So let's go ahead and take a look at these two together. So I can notice right away that it just feels slightly taller than the S25 right there. That's for sure. It is slightly bigger. It's a 6.3. The S25 was a 6.2 inch display. So that could be why it's a little bit taller right there. But that punch hole display, or that punch hole right there, to me looks a little bit bigger than that one on the S25. It's very, it's not a huge difference, but it is noticeable. I felt like the punch hole was even more of a bigger difference on the S26 Ultra to the S25 Ultra. But they do kind of run the same type of software. So if you have an S25, I'm not so sure this is going to be a needed upgrade for you. But let's go ahead while we have this out here and kind of look at the changes on the side. You'll see they got rid of that right there because they went back with the aluminum, which allows them to put the antenna in the frame itself. You'll see right there at the bottom, they kind of have that same setup, so not very different on the bottom of these phones. On the side right there, you'll see we do have ourselves power buttons and volume rockers basically in the same location. But the big difference, and the one I like the most, is the camera section. Now, while these cameras from a distance basically look the same, there is one detail that I'm pretty sure you can notice right away. This looks like those camera rings you stick on the phone to protect cameras. I don't know why they went with this design last year. To me, it looked pretty cheap. So I'm very happy with the new updates with this camera island. I know it seems small, but from a design perspective, it definitely looks more premium. Also, those rings around the camera just make this camera look like the flagship phone. If you take a look at some of the other phones in Samsung's lineup, the cheaper ones, they don't usually have this exact camera layout. So this looks a little bit more like the top of the line version. You'll see right there, Samsung right there, and the back is like this smooth textured matte glass, so it doesn't really pick up too much fingerprints overall. So you do get 3 cameras on the back, 50 megapixel wide, and then you have a 10 megapixel telephoto, which is going to allow you to get some pretty decent zooming, and then 12 megapixel ultra wide with super steady video options available right here. So this is a solid offering. It's not quite as good as the cameras in the Ultra, which is why I don't always love the base model. I do like its size, but I wish they would just make it have the same, or maybe have like a pro version of the smaller version so people can choose a smaller size with all the great features of the Ultra. But it seems like you always got to go up to the Ultra to get the best features. But this camera is still more than enough for most people. And I think if you want to be in the Galaxy experience, but you want it in a smaller package, this is still more than enough for most people. Although it's not greatly upgraded over last year, you'll see over here that we do have panoramic, food modes, pro modes. You can add more within here. Of course, this being a Galaxy S line phone, you could do up to 8K video, but what they're saying is that you're going to get better photo, based on the processing after the fact. So that's a pretty good thing for this camera. So there's going to be a slightly upgraded camera over the S25, but bigger upgrade for people coming from S22, S23s, specifically even better for S21 users. So people from a few years back are really going to like this upgrade. So we're also going to get a bigger battery, and because One UI 8.5 is getting more advanced in terms of efficiency along with the chip, I do think the battery is going to be pretty solid even for this base model right here. And this doesn't have the privacy display option on board, so you will get more of a natural looking display. You've probably been hearing about some of the different looking, the eyes perceiving the display on the a Samsung Ultra a little bit different, but it's also hardware based because they actually changed the technology of the pixels in the S26 Ultra. I'll talk more about that and what I think about the display, but this is more of your classic natural Galaxy display. So some people might not like the way the S26 Ultra's display looks and go to an S26 or an S26 Plus. But if you go down here to display, one of the things I don't really love about the base model though is that it's 1080p. And you can say, well, it's small, Nick, it doesn't matter. Well, kind of does matter, because back in the day, the smaller option had 2K panels. I know for battery it might be better, but at the same time, you could always just turn off 2K and still get good battery with the 1080p option. So I'd like to see, especially at the price, they actually raised the price of this base model. So I'd like to see them go back to 2K if you're going to be raising the price on the phone. But if you go to screen modes right here, you do have natural, vivid, and stuff like that. And on first impressions, it looks essentially like last year's display. Maybe a little bit more muted in colors, honestly. It looks slightly less vivid, but let's see if I crank it up. It looks pretty close. So yeah, with it cranked up, it's pretty close. But it looks like Samsung is still going towards more of a natural hue. They're trying to probably go closer to what some people would say looks a little bit more natural. So definitely for those people who are complaining a lot about the displays being hard on the eyes, I think they're going in the right direction with these S26s in terms of the calibration of the display, but they still probably got to work on the PWM stuff. So that is the Samsung Galaxy S26. I think it's a safe upgrade for Samsung. I think if you have an older Samsung, I think you're going to be happy with the upgrade. I also think that the S25 is similar phone. It's almost the same type of phone, so it's probably not a necessary update. But if you want to get the bigger trade-in value as it stands right now, you could go ahead and swap it out. You're just going to love this if you loved your S25. And its top competitor, I would say right here, is probably the iPhone 17, maybe even the 17 Pro. Pro is probably closer to the Plus in competition, but the 17, definitely a top competitor. And I like how even now with the shape, it kind of looks like a mini Ultra. It really does. This S26 base looks like a mini Ultra without an S Pen. And it looks kind of like we're competing against the iPhone Max, but in the smaller version here, in the 17. So I do like that you can even go to the smaller sizes and still have a phone that feels top tier on these competitors. But comparing it to the iPhone 17, just one quick look at this, you'll see it looks a little bit thinner. It still has that familiar shape as Samsung you're used to. So it definitely feels like a Samsung, and then the iPhone 17 feels like a 17, but definitely looks a tad wider right there. So we'll go ahead and do a full comparison on those soon. Last thing I want to do is take a quick look one more time at the Ultra. It literally just looks like a blown up phone on the left, and the smaller base looks just like a smaller Ultra. I mean, if you look at the sides, the tops, and you could say that was kind of the case for last year, but not as much. I feel like they shaped the Ultra a lot like the base now, or at least they shaped the base a lot like the Ultra now. So it don't matter if you go with this one or the Ultra, you're kind of getting that same feel. So that's actually quite nice for this device right here. But you don't get the same cameras, you don't get the same battery size, you don't get the S Pen. So there's still differences there. But stay tuned. We're going to do some speed tests, some comparisons, and more on the base S26 as well. If you found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, do me a favor, click the like button for me. And if you want to see any specific comparisons, if you decide you're still deciding whether or not to buy this, go ahead and drop that down below in the comments. I'll consider making those. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well. Thank you very much for watching, and peace.